Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest is John Rich. He's president of WMPI. He's the gentleman that has started in the mid-'90s of taking coal and making it into fuel, creating thousands of jobs, making our country less dependency on fuel. As John mentioned in the first segment, we're spending $800 to $1 billion a day bringing foreign oil in, and now we're talking about, well, where we're at with the plant. Where we're at with the plant is that we're being held up in certain areas with the I think, nonsense and bull crap that we're getting from Congress and Washington. But that's my personal opinion. John, continue on. What's the problem? Why isn't this plant now built? We talked 3-4 years ago. You were supposed to have groundbreaking. Now, are you looking for grant money?
No, and that $100 million we talked about some time ago, that was a loan. That had to be paid back. It wasn't stimulus dollars. It wasn't a gift. It wasn't a grant. Early on, I think it was Senator Specter that characterized it as a grant. It was never a grant. So that's not the case. But you know what, Sammy? I think where are we with the project? You know the best thing, and to take advantage of the program. Encourage your listeners to call Washington, call the representative, ask what the problem, and let them ask the problem. Well, if I were to get into that, we don't have time for me to get into that. It's being investigated, but it's an absolute crime that this country, as important as liquid transportation fuels are, doesn't do something definitive about it. We don't export dollars for electrons, for electricity, although there's money being put into ways to produce more electricity. We don't export dollars for natural gas, although there might be a little bit imported here and there. We don't export dollars for firewood or coal, but we export all this money for liquids. Why not focus on how to stop that? Because every dollar we keep here is a job. And it's a job that you can take a mortgage out on. I've said this how many times? Because we have an appetite for liquids. You can talk electric vehicles. We're not going to change out the vehicle fleet overnight. It's not going to happen for many, many years, if it ever does happen. But there's always going to be a need for liquids in airplanes and trains and heavy equipment. The simplest thing is take the technology that's available, whether it's, and natural gas is candidate feedstock too, not to mention the solids, the waste coal and prepared coal, and convert that into a hydrogen and carbon monoxide and then liquefy.
Okay, and we cleared up the environment issue because that's all we keep on here. But you remind me of, John, I have a cartoon character that I like to make and put in national papers. You have a building burning, okay? It's burning to the ground. Flames are coming up. And there you are with the fire truck, and you have all the facilities and the hoses and everything to put the fire out. And what I see Washington doing, hold it just a second. We know what to do with this building, okay? And meanwhile, as you're there, you have the solution to put that fire out because you have all the opportunities. And this is what I'm saying. So, folks, we're telling you is this. First of all, learn about it, okay? I've said this before. I don't care if John Rich becomes a zillionaire. That has nothing to do with it. What it means is not only are we creating thousands of jobs in northeastern Pennsylvania, but could you understand, you do know this, the domino effect here? You do one plant.
We did a study like that, Sam. It's right on the website. And we drew a graph, and we did a study and we did the math. And we compared our production cost to crude oil. In other words, at what point does it start to make sense to buy crude oil, like we got weaned onto, or at 60% of our needs? At one point, and there is if crude oil was $10 a barrel and it cost us $5 a gallon to make it, it might make more sense to buy the foreign oil. And look at the chart. Every time now with oil trading at 70 to 80, and our production costs actually at less than $3 a gallon, every time we produce a gallon, we put $2 or $3 back into the domestic economy. It makes no sense. There's an opportunity for this country to create quality jobs. You can take a mortgage out on, you can pay benefits, you can educate your kids, and that is stop spending $800 to $1 billion a day for foreign oil.
So, all right, so now we have Congressmen and U.S. Senators that are telling you, and I've said this before, they're giving you a lot of rhetoric. That's only my personal opinion. I'm sorry if I offend anybody. But, John, you were talking, I remember you met with President Bush, And President Bush said, and I think in his car, you know, whatever you need, you know, let's see what we can move ahead. Is that correct?
That was right after he came into office. That's right. And we worked on it. We moved the ball forward. But you know, it's
Senator Santorum sat where you sat. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I said this at the beginning, okay? And he said there was about 3 months before election, and he said, I went into the Secretary of Energy. I said, let's quit the BSing. This project has to get off the ground.
Here's the beauty of all of that. The beauty of the federal government encouraging, endorsing, supporting a concept like this helps facilitate the financing, helps facilitate the permitting, helps move the ball forward. We don't need a $100 million grant to produce $3 a gallon product. We don't need that. It was a facilitator. We need that encouragement at the federal level. The only way you're going to get it, and again, this doesn't have to be done at the expense of big oil. This can be done in cooperation with big oil. I've said that all along.
Yes, you have.
And the federal government needs to facilitate this. And in order for the federal government to facilitate something like this, they need phone calls from your viewers, from people. They need to say, why can't we have these jobs? Why must we continue to do what we've done in the past and continue to ship the kind of dollars we're shipping offshore?
When you're looking at, you're not, like here again, you're not looking for any grant money, okay? What you're looking for is support from the Congress to make this the project to move ahead.
You know, you've seen him. Every now and then you see Donald Trump goes on TV and they ask him about something and he throws the notion, hey, we're spending too much money offshore. I'm not the only one. We're not the only ones that's been saying this. Other people recognize this country can't afford to hemorrhage dollars the way it is. And it makes no sense when there's technology that can mitigate that, when there's technology without threatening the environment that can actually create the jobs here, satisfy some. We're not going to satisfy 10 million barrels a day. We just cut into that. We cut into that a dozen plants or so throughout the country and displace 1 million or 2 million barrels a day. That's quality jobs. That's tax receipts.
On a recent show, I interviewed Mayor Lou Barletta, and I talked about stimulus. And stimulus means to stimulate things, okay? What if they would have said, let's take $1 billion from the trillions of dollars that they blew away and said, here's the liquid, here just Mr. Rich, here's $1 billion. Let's see what you could do to stimulate the economy.
Well, the place to put stimulus dollars, and again, we're not out here.
I don't talk common sense.
No, we're not. I'm not promoting that we get stimulus dollars. I haven't done that.
I know that, but I'm just using an example here.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. If the federal government's going to inject money into something, inject it into a business opportunity that causes the exportation of dollars to stop. Don't necessarily inject it into a business opportunity where we're not exporting dollars. Like when we put windmill up, we're putting more capacity, more electrons into the grid. So conceptually, even though those electrons are underwritten by the federal government, it's driving down the cost of electrons nationwide. Somebody's getting pushed out of work somewhere. There's a plant being idled somewhere because there's incremental demand coming on, or there's incremental capacity coming on, and there's no appetite for it, for those electrons. So you're flooding a market with electrons, and you're thinking you're stimulating jobs. Well, you may build a tower, generate some electrons. All of a sudden, somewhere out there in the grid, somewhere thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away, the plant's being shut down and somebody's being put out of work. Same thing, I'm saying that doesn't happen when we make liquid transportation fuels. We put money into a complex, we make liquids. What happens then? The dollars that are going offshore start to stay here. That's how to stimulate productivity and continuity when it comes to hiring people.
So before I bring Mayor Barletta in, because I want to ask him some questions of what he stands on this energy solution here, 1,000 jobs would be created for your plan, plus maintaining about 300 to 400 permanent jobs after the plan.
We're talking 660 primary and secondary jobs from this one small complex alone.
Okay, folks, I'm talking to John Rich. It's important, folks. Call your congressman, call the U.S. senators, ask them why nothing's happening on this liquid to fuel plant, and let's see what they say, okay? I've done it, and it's interesting how I get thrown hoops and loops and et cetera, but demand as to knowing what's going on, particularly what the fact that we're depending so much on foreign oil. I'm going to, next segment, Mayor Barletta's here. Let's find out what he's going to do for the northeastern Pennsylvania, and will it be hopefully accomplished. within the next 2 years. Stay with us.